What is going on, all of you absolutely beautiful and wonderful people? How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having yourselves an extravagant day today. Welcome back to JBu's Plants and Bonsai. Thank you all for stopping by, tuning in, and joining us. Thank you all for stopping by, tuning in, and joining us once again. I truly appreciate all of your guys' support. It is amazing out here. The weather is practically perfect, so I know I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm sure the plants are enjoying it. Today we have ourselves an awesome video. This video is going to be slightly different than what we're used to. You know, typically we work with our beautiful dwarf jades, but today we have a specimen known as the African milk tree. This is the African milk plant or African milk tree. Either one works just fine, and it's going to be needing a lot of attention and work today. I'm sure you guys read the title. We're going to be chopping it down and attempting to begin the propagation process. I've never actually propagated this plant or even trimmed it or pruned it at all, so this is all kind of going to be an experiment. So there's not much else that really needs to be said. We're just going to start out like we usually do by taking a look at our spectacular specimen for today. All right, everybody, so here is our beautiful specimen for today, our African milk tree or African milk plant. It kind of looks like a cactus you'll probably recognize, but it isn't actually a part of the cactus family. I'll put a text up of what family it's a part of because I cannot pronounce it for the life of me. This plant in specific is actually kept as an indoor plant, and as I'm sure you could tell, it's doing extremely well, absolutely loving life, extremely healthy and beautiful. However, because of the way we have it positioned by the window, only the top half receives sunlight, hence why there's only leaves really growing at the top. And at the bottom, there's maybe a few leaves here and there, but not nearly as much as the top. Since the top is the main thing growing, that's leading it to becoming very top heavy and overweight, and our plant doesn't seem like it's going to be able to support it for much longer. Taking a look right here, it is very skinny, and the rest of the way up is a lot thicker than that. And so I'm kind of living in fear that one day it's just gonna snap off and lose half of its body. Keeping it indoors, the air conditioning causes it to sway a whole bunch, and so that's also another reason why we can't bring it outside, because if it were in the actual elements like the wind, and it gets pretty windy here, then it would most definitely snap off. So by chopping it down, we'll finally be able to move it outside, and then it'll be able to receive the sufficient sunlight that it requires. But yeah, gamers, all in all, we're cutting this thing down to give it some sufficient sunlight, and also because I don't want to be living in fear anymore of this thing potentially breaking off one day. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys some better looks at the plant because it's hard to film it while talking and moving it because it's, you know, way too big to get it all in one shot. So yeah, gamers, let me give you guys some quick views, and then we'll be back when we're ready to work on this thing. Alright guys, we are just about ready to begin working and pruning our plant, and right off the bat you can see just how much it's leaning, even with the stick in there, but it's not exactly, you know, the most optimal stick. I just put it in there real quick just to prevent it from snapping off in the wind because it was a little bit windy anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna just remove the stick for a second and show you guys how much it really leans. So you guys can see this is not ideal. This is not ideal whatsoever. Gamers, we're gonna jump right into it and start chopping this thing down. If you guys ever decide to work on African milk trees, I would suggest wearing gloves because, for one, this plant has a lot of spikes on it, thorns, and they're very sharp and can get lodged in your skin. I know from experience. And also, when you cut this plant, it tends to leak sap, and so I've also read that that can be irritating for your skin. I'm not sure if that's true because I've never pruned this plant, but we're gonna find out today because I'm not wearing gloves. But don't do what I do. So I'm planning on making 4 cuttings that are gonna be relatively decent size because I don't wanna make, you know, just a whole bunch of little ones. And so we're gonna start out our pruning here at the top of our plant, and we're gonna go ahead and chop now, gamers. So boom, there we go, and it is immediately leaking sap. So this is what we don't want to get onto our skin. We're gonna let this just leak over in the dirt for a little bit and have it dry out until we're ready to plant it. And so there we have our first cut done, and already you can see our plant is no longer, well actually it is still top heavy, but it's significantly less top heavy. So now we're gonna go ahead and come in for our second prune here. We're gonna cut it just a little bit ways down from our last cut. So boom, just like that. Once again, leaking a bunch of sap, so we're gonna put it off to the side. All right guys, so that is 2 cuttings done now. Let's go ahead and come in for our third cutting. Again, just a little bit ways down, but also making them pretty decent sized because I don't want a bunch of small ones. Let's get some decent sized ones going. So here is our third cutting, looking pretty phenomenal, very beautiful and healthy, and leaking a whole bunch of sap. So this one is gonna go to the side. All right gamers, we are going in for our fourth and final cut of the plant. It's gonna be right about here, just above where there's a new growth coming out. So here we go. Boom. There we go, gamers. Our fourth and final cut, and our plant is now drastically changed, and hopefully for the better. All right, everyone. So we are now back from our pruning of our African milk tree, and we have our 4 cuttings ready to be propagated. However, I was reading that you could either propagate them after drying them out for a day or 2, or you could just immediately plant them after you cut them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of experiment. I'm gonna have a couple of them dry out for a couple of days, and then we're also gonna plant a couple of them right now and see which ones do better. All right guys, to start it out, we have ourselves this relatively large orange plastic pot here, and it's full of peat moss. Typically peat moss works pretty well for starting out cutting, so we're gonna go ahead and try it out for this plant. We have ourselves a little hole right here that was made exactly for our first cutting here. We're gonna go ahead and just go ahead and fill it up with some of the surrounding peat moss, of course. And this is gonna be one of the plants that we plant immediately after, rather than waiting for it to dry out. But alongside it, we're gonna plant one that will dry out, just so that we're really able to compare which ones do better. It'd be funny if they both don't survive, which is totally possible because I've never even tried to propagate this plant, so I'm going in for the first time on this thing. But there we go. We now have our first plant, or our first cutting planted, and so in a couple of days we'll come back and we'll plant one probably right about here beside it. So there we go, our first cutting is planted. Guys, so here we have our second cutting, and this is also going to be one of the ones that we don't let dry out and that we just immediately plant after. And along with that, we also have this one in just regular potting soil, so we'll see which soil also works better. But again, they might all not survive, who knows. But you know, we're gonna be optimistic and we're gonna say, yeah, they'll all survive, and some will maybe do better than others, who knows. But it's all gonna be an experiment at the end of the day. Just about done potting up this one now as well. Just making sure that our cutting is nice and stable, give it the best chance of survival. All right everyone, so here is what our current finished products are looking like. We have 1 cutting and 2 cuttings planted so far. Those are the ones that we planted immediately after. And then of course we have our new African milk tree. Well, not new, but new and improved, I'll say. And then behind these plants, we have our other 2 cuttings that are just waiting to dry out. And so I'm gonna film the conclusion and everything today, but when we roll the clips, you guys will see the other 2 dry cuttings when they are planted. But just for now, this is what we're looking at. Very happy with how it came out. And also, what do you guys think? Should we also prune the rest of our African milk tree? Because I'm noticing that these branches are also getting quite long, so maybe it's time to just prune the whole thing. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So we're gonna go ahead, and you guys know the deal. We're gonna roll the clips now, so you guys can get better views of our finished products, including the dry ones, but just not today. But okay, gamers, here we go. Alright everyone, so that is going to conclude today's video. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to let me know if you did, or if you didn't, make sure to let me know why. I know it was a little bit different, but I still think it turned out pretty epic. Thank you all for stopping by and showing your support as per usual. You guys are awesome. You guys truly make it all worth it. I love you all, and I hope I've inspired some of you guys who don't have any plants to maybe get yourself a plant, because plants are awesome, and you are awesome. So yeah, gamers, thank you all once again, and yeah. Peace.